So tell me about these bands, man, because
Okay.
you got me thinking. I've been watching. I watch your transition. You know, you start going to the bands, and you know, I'll admit it. I was like, why's this dude doing bands? Like, fuck that.
Everybody was.
I need my
Everybody's like, huh?
cables. I need my
How was he getting
dumbbells. I
paid?
need my bench. You know, it's because I was big into powerlifting back then, so I was
Yes,
like,
you are.
I'm messing with no bands. But as we evolve, you know what I'm saying, I'm at a point now where, you know, I've moved past powerlifting. You know, I did that, you know what I'm saying? It was cool, you know, but life, life flows
Yeah,
and
life
we
happens.
evolve and time changes everything, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, your mind starts changing too, but I'm at a point now where it's like, I don't need a deadlift. I don't need to squat. I don't need to bench. Like, I'm just trying to maintain what I got and, you know, eventually start building back up a little bit. But I'm curious about these bands because I see some of your videos and it's like,
Yeah.
you'll be out in the park, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, just it looks like you're just having so much fun in the sun, you know, you got
Yeah,
your
man.
clients. And I'm like, I got a park literally right across from my apartment. So I'm like, I was thinking about the other night, I took some shrooms and I was getting all these ideas. And I started thinking about bands. It was weird. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to ask him about that because I think I'm at a point in my life now where I'd be down to, you know, make that transition. And also, like I said earlier, I like to try different things. I like to experiment. Like,
Yeah,
if you
man.
look at my track record, people that
Yeah.
know me, it's like I've done this, I've done that, I've done that. I'm constantly changing. So it's like I feel like bands is a good thing, and so like, can you tell us a little bit about the bands and how you got into that, and you know,
Of
break it
course.
down for us.
Yeah, man. And this is the reason why they call me the walking contradiction, man, because everything that they said was everything that they said was going to happen, the opposite happened. So it's like, what the hell's going on with this guy? And so when it came to the bands, right? And Danielle, she could see this, man. My lady, she done seen in these last 6 years, we're gonna get a 6 years. She done seen me go vegan. She done seen me try like so many different things. But even before that, like I've tried keto, paleo. You know, I've done like the only one I didn't try is the carnivore diet. But I went raw for a little bit too. I've seen like the different sides of it. But the thing that I noticed is that when you have to take one completely out, the other ones are making up for that. And that's when a lot of stuff happens. So I say you keep like carbs aren't the enemy, proteins, fats, they're not the enemy. It just have to be done in a certain ratio. So when it came to the bands, I could see like leaving the gym, right? There's not as much interaction that you get as when you go to the gym. So I could see myself training the clients, but I was kind of getting bored with what I was doing. I had the dumbbells and I just was, she saw me missing workouts. She was like, you should, you know, get outside, just get outside one day. And I was like, all right, let me just get outside. So what I did is I get outside, just roll my bike around. I was out in the sun and I was like, man, I felt so much better just getting outside in there. And then I came across James Grange, and he's the one that did like the Undersun Bands. And his commercial was pretty convincing because he was like, you can get the same results. And of course, you know, I'm just like, I don't know about that. But he's like, you can get the same results with the bands as you could as lifting weights. And then find out he had a weightlifting background too. And I look at this guy and he'd been out the gym at this point for about 2.5 years. And no size was lost on him either.
Look the same,
nor did I when I was doing, because I would still be pushing myself, but I could see myself hitting the corner. And it felt really good just to get outside. And so seeing that, and I was like, you know what, let me give that a try. Because I never really thought about like, because we think gym, you have to be in the gym to get it done. You have to be powerlifting, you have to be in a facility to gain weight. If you ain't doing it there, you just maintain it. You just picking up until, the pandemic hit. Don't worry. Just use bands for accessory work. Do some push-ups, and that'll hold you over
together. Well, I was actually really considering at that time because, you know, we were locked down and all that shit. And it was driving me crazy because I'm like, this was the beginning of me getting small. Fucking pandemic, but. You know, I was like I'm thinking, how can I work out? Because actually, there's a video on my Instagram. I was just fucking around, but I was like, I got one of those. What is it, like the 5 gallon jugs that you kind of had the nozzle and it had a handle.
Yeah.
So I was like, I told my girl, I was like, I want you to film me. I'm gonna do some workouts, and I was like, I'm gonna put together a whole body workout with just this jug of water. So I was doing like lunges, I was doing curls, I was doing triceps. I was doing everything. I had a whole workout. I was like, okay, this is cool, but I'm like, this is still whack. I ain't feeling it. I'm like, let me hit up Kevin with some bands.
Yeah, because even with that, you're still limited. You're still limited. The good thing about the bands is it gives, as you've seen from my videos, brother, it gives you an array of different things. And you see my pushing through the pumps and all of that. Like, I'm constantly coming up with ideas. This ain't even something that I I'm just copying James Grant. He sees my workouts and he say, damn, I didn't even think about that.
You're giving him ideas.
So creative, just bringing it.
It's just like the fitness industry. All the workouts we know with fucking barbells and dumbbells and cables and shit. Somebody made that up. Somebody was like, what if I hit it like this, or what if I turn my wrist around this way? That's one thing I learned. Because I don't know, people don't know this about me. I've been training since next year will be 20 years, and it's been a learning process. You know what I'm saying? But one of the things I always tell people is angles. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're doing a curl like this, and maybe you switch it up like this, or you switch it up like this, or you go inward, you're hitting different heads of the muscle, and you're building it. That's contributing to the overall building of the muscle. But so that makes me think, like, with the bands, you can probably do all kinds of different angles.
It's so many different things you can do. Behind the back, bicep curls. And the good thing too, when it comes to the bands, is you build a lot of like core strength just from standing up. You know, athletes train, they stand up when they train. So you get a lot of that just from holding and having to pull. You get a lot of that.
Because you're keeping that core tight,
You're keeping the core tight throughout it, which makes your whole body strong. You know this through martial arts, my brother. Like, just having a strong core is a key component to doing
that's
what you need.
That's the base of everything. That's your base. Yeah.
100%. So I would use that. And when it came to the bands, it does take some getting used to, because we're used to the weights doing it for us, man. We got 50 pounds. I'm finna curl this 50 pounds, and that's what it is. With the bands, you have to get a little bit more, but there's a good thing about it too. So as you're doing it, right? If you're doing like a curl, and it's not enough for you, you can always step more onto the band, and then it goes from just being like this to being like this.
Yeah, more resistance.
And it's the more resistance, and if it's too much, I always been on the, especially when it comes to the bands, I always tell people, start out with more resistance, then you can taper off. And if you taper off, then you can still get more reps, get that progressive overload, get the hypertrophy.
It's like drop sets, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. You can play with it, man. You can play with it in so many different ways.
You got a band handy? You can show the people?
Let me see what I got here. Hold on.
So when he says bands, he's talking about resistance bands. Some people, you might be brand new. That's what he's talking about, resistance bands. These rubber bands, rubber bands, but they're big.
The loop bands. The loop ones. Let me show you real quick. So this is the bands I use here, right? The loop ones. The handle ones, and I made a whole video about this too. The ones with the handles, the reason that I don't use the handle ones is just they're very inconsistent, right? They're like, the tension is not versed throughout it. It's like it can be too tight or too easy, and that's why bands get a bad name too, is because people are used to, or if I go too strong, it might pop in my face and this and this, and I was like, you have to get good bands first.
Saying, that probably could happen. I'm like, damn, man, I can see that happening to me. Walking around with the fucking.
Everybody's like cautious. They're like, ooh, shit. Let me so let me stand up and show you guys.
Hey, it beats dropping a fucking barbell on your chest. Shit.
Oh man, forget about it. See, that's something you can't recover from. I'll take a smack to the face versus that.
Shit.
So with the bands, right? So what I was saying is that when they did a study on loop bands and why they didn't work, right? Even the definition of what they had didn't work, because they had a guy holding the band, right? and he's doing this. And so if you're here, you're already kind of half repping. And so from here to
you're not getting that full extension, right?
Exactly, my bro. So what I would do is I would step on it, and you can see it right through my arm. I don't even have to fake it.
Yeah, you can see the stretch.
That's the stretch, and you can see the struggle in my arm and difference on when I'm doing it versus just letting it loose and just half repping it up here and just pumping through. Yeah. And that's where a lot of people get. So they just don't know how to use it. So I've been doing my absolute best to take what I learned through bodybuilding and apply it with the bands and get the same kind of results, man. Hits the shoulders. I noticed that when it comes to bands, especially, the pull motions are the most strenuous because when you're pulling it, it's fighting you throughout. Like it's a whole fight. So if I'm doing
it's like a cable, like the cable machines in the gym.
Absolutely, it's like the cable machine. Yeah. You get a fight through the whole thing. There's no give in that curl at all. It fights you all the way up and all the way down. So I noticed I was getting a lot of strength from that too. And then
those negatives.
Yeah, those negatives, man. We talk about that all the time. The negatives make a big difference. So when I do go with a buddy of mine, or if we hit the gym or something of that nature, I've never done it before, and that's how I know I got stronger. I was able to curl 135 for 7 reps on the barbell.
So and this is after you quit the gym, you started the bands, and now you went back to the gym with a friend just to go. Okay.
Absolutely. And so it was a telltale because a friend of mine told me that too, and he was like, "Man, when I went back, I got a little stronger." And he was like, "I said, you got a little stronger." I was like, "Okay." So he was like, "I was pushing myself," and I did the same as I did. I was like, "Let me try some stuff out." Another thing that I never did before is even when it came to the cable, like push downs, I could never get past 120 pounds, right? And I'm
about to end this motherfucking podcast right now. You're making me sick. I could never get past 300. I was so weak. This guy, he's like, I'm skinny. I could only lift 200 pounds with one arm. Come on, man. Stop.
Yo, Tony threw me right under the bus. But being able to get the cables and get the rope and be able to do the whole rack, right? 150.
Nice. Yeah.
That was a telltale for me, bro. It was crazy.
Walking contradiction. Perfect.
So now I just
yeah,
go ahead.
You basically you were starting to see the results and you're like, okay, this is legit. And you were getting comfortable just like anything else. So I'm guessing you started experimenting, you started coming up with different workouts, doing some research, finding stuff from other people. Because I've seen your videos and I see you doing all kinds of different shit. And I've seen the guy, the owner, I've seen some videos he posted, and I've seen a bunch of workouts and stuff. So the sky's the limit, basically. Yeah.
Yes, sir. They sent me this shirt, by the way, too.
What's it say? Fuck the gym. And you know what? You know what's funny? Part of me thinking about that, I said I took those shrooms and I started thinking about the bands and I was thinking about this interview and stuff. Is with these shrooms, it's really trying to kill that ego, right? Mm-hmm. And I go to the gym here and it's like, since I've started getting smaller, because bro, I've lost like 25 pounds since.
Bro, I seen you in your pinnacle, man. You a beast, buddy. You ain't gotta convince me. I remember the Bane picture. I remember it, brother. I remember.
But you feel me, like when you're in this lifestyle for so long, that becomes your identity. You know what I'm saying?
True.
And part of your confidence and part of your cockiness even is your muscle, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, for me, it all started with fasting. I started getting into fasting last summer, and slowly I started getting smaller. But it was gradual, so I was like, it wasn't too bad. But with this raw diet, man, I mean, it was like within the first week, my shirts were getting loose, and I was like, no. And you know what I'm saying? It's like I take my shirt off, I'm still cut, I still got muscle and stuff, but it's just like it's really hard to accept that, because my whole life has been revolved around that, and it's like I base my identity on my physique, what I've accomplished, like powerlifting or bodybuilding or whatever. And it's like losing that has really made me have to look in the mirror and swallow my pride and push that ego aside. And it's like, even when I walk past the mirror and I'm like, fuck, like, damn, like,
I feel you, brother.
It's ego death. But I was gonna say, you know, I got you on right now. I'm gonna put this out there, and you know, this is all part of the channel, all part of the journey, and you know, I made this channel so people can follow the journey, get inspiration, get knowledge, get motivation, you know, learn. I'm gonna switch to bands, brother. I'm gonna switch to bands. I'm gonna quit the gym. You're gonna send me one of them fuck the gym shirts, and I'm dead serious. And I'll start recording it, and I'll start tracking it, because part of this raw diet, I feel, has given my body the chance to rid a lot of toxicity and a lot of stuff that didn't belong in my body. And that's one thing I want to cover real quick. I hope I don't lose my train of thought. But with meat, so many people, they'll argue to the death, and you know this. They'll argue to the death for their meat, and it's like, when you really break it down, they just don't want to give it up. They don't want to give up the steak. They don't want to give up the chicken wings. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. You know, our whole life we've become addicted, and that's what it is, an addiction to these foods. So it's like all these people that are like, oh, what about the carnivore diet? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, with meat, you're going to get nutrients. It's going to happen.
That's it.
But what they don't tell you is like, what about the long-term effects? One thing that I noticed, these pro meat guys, like carnivore diet, you know, stuff like that, they never talk about the colon. They never talk about
never.
And that's the one thing that is, you can't argue it. Like, so carnivores, right? They have short intestines, and that's so the meat can come in and pass through real quick.
Yep.
We don't have short intestines. We have miles of intestines. So
much.
That meat, mind you, when you eat it, it's already dead. It's a dead animal.
True.
So you eat it, and it's just gradually rotting, slowly moving through your body. That's why people got these guts, or just, even when I was jacked and I was like, man, I feel good, there'd be days when my stomach is sticking out. And I'm like, you know, you try to suck it in, and you know what I'm saying? But it's like,
trying to hide it.
I was watching this thing the other day, and it was saying the average person eats, what was it, like double their body weight in meat, or something like that?
They do. And the average person owes anywhere between 5 to 15 pounds of waste.
Pounds of dead, rotting meat. So a steak you ate last month is probably still, some of that is probably still inside you, rotting away, moving through your intestines that weren't meant for meat. And I try to tell people this. I'm learning as I go, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
But it's like, people are like, oh, we've been eating meat forever, hunters and gatherers, da 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 da. And it's like, you got to understand, our ancestors were going through hard times. You know what I'm saying? There was cataclysms, there was shortages of food, there was long winters. So you don't have access to fruits and vegetables, you know what I'm saying? So what do you got to do? You're going to eat meat. You're going to go kill that mammoth or whatever. So they did what they had to do to survive. And it's like, but even then, when they find these ancient bodies and stuff in glaciers and shit, they find fruits and vegetables in there too, you know what I'm saying?
That's true.
And the people that weren't from like the polar regions, like a lot of the people that are in the jungle regions, a lot of them don't even eat meat. Like some of these tribes that haven't been tainted yet, they don't even eat meat.
Yeah.
For me though, I had a hard time giving up the meat. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. And but I'm the type of person that if I know something's bad for me, it's hard for me to keep doing it. Like, especially when it comes to physically, you know what I'm saying? So I started giving up red meat. Like I quit pork over a decade ago. I was in Afghanistan. I was around all the Afghanis. They're Muslim, and they would never touch it. And I got close with these guys. Yep. Yeah, and I started picking their brain. I'm like, why don't you like pork? You don't like bacon? And then they tell me and they break it down on a biblical level, and I'm like, okay, I can understand that. And you know, so I gave up pork a long time ago. That was easy. But then eventually, over the past few years, it's been red meat. I kind of pushed that aside because they say, oh, red meat is too bad. But chicken's fine, which is horseshit. It's just another lie. Yeah.
It is.
So before I did this raw diet thing, I was really